Linda, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm better than I deserve, I think, today. Little sore. Still haven't figured out what I did to my back. Pulled a muscle or something. So got a chiropractor appointment later. So we'll go see.
There you go. That's part of life is we're moving around and sometimes things don't move with us.
Yeah, get a little bit. I listened to a comedian and he was saying that after 40 things happen that you just can't explain. It's like um, uh, his joke was I got injured in my sleep, right? And it's the muscle cramps and stuff like that, and you just kind of that stuff didn't start showing up till I got to a certain age.
Oh, I don't know. I think I've had that pretty much most of my life because I sleep pretty funky. So,
Yeah, yeah. So we wanted to talk about purpose, vision, and goals through the first quarter of 2026. And
right.
many of you may have planned out your year already. And but did you break it down to quarterly? Did you break it down to monthly? Did you break it down to weekly? And we know that all those things are important.
Right.
The
It
the
it gives us the big picture and then it gives us the focal points of what we need to
right,
work on to get to that big picture.
right. And a lot of times when we set our purpose, we just copy what what we've been doing in the past, right? Um, well, what's my purpose? And we all have I would say an overshadowing over this is the big picture purpose, right? So what if
Right.
we broke it down to smaller bits and pieces to get to that big picture purpose? I'm just wondering if we did that, would it not be a lot easier and a lot easier to focus, I guess, and pay attention to what's happening today instead of worrying about the purpose for the year. Does that make sense?
I kind of we both had the coughs this morning. I kind of try to think of it as like the strategic plan for my life,
Hmm.
not just my business, but my life. And because purpose, vision, and goals doesn't have to just be about business. It's just about
Right.
overall what you're working for. Excuse me.
And my wife and I have been going through the God Talks exercise book by Ed Rush. Excellent book out there, folks. I would strongly recommend you get that and read it or get it on Audible and listen to it. We've done both. The thing that we're doing is we're looking at today. We're looking at this week. We're looking at the month, and we're looking at the first quarter. And then beyond that, we've come up with the big picture. I think he calls them acres of gold. What is that? What is that overall overwhelming big purpose? But if you can't break it down to what am I supposed to do today, then it becomes overwhelming, right? And I think sometimes folks out there say, well, if you don't have this big grand purpose, if you don't have, if you're not focused on your purpose for the first quarter or for the second quarter, whatever, then you're not going to get there. And to a certain extent, that's right. But if you can break your purpose, vision, and goals down to small time, it's like the joke: how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah,
Right,
one
one
bite at
bite
a
at a time. And we have a tendency to try and do big picture, big things. Um, and what our plan is for the whole year, we try to get it done in the first quarter.
And I think a lot of us try to figure out what the steps are as we're doing them,
Hmm.
and think of it as a trip.
Yep.
Back in the day, you pulled out your map
Hmm.
and you mapped it out, and depending on what the goal was it to see the sights or was it to get there the fastest route? You pick the route, and then I live in Colorado. It's winter, and
Yep.
sometimes the main route isn't open, and
Yeah. Yeah.
if you have to punt, you're
Yeah.
you're especially if you're already on the highway and you're already on your way there, and something happens, which happens quite a bit during the winter time. And so part of, I think one of the things that I make mistakes with my person vision and goals is that I think I have to be married to the plan.
Yep.
And really, I need to, the most important thing is what am I aiming for? Now, I
Right.
know a lot of times, they also tell you don't be married to the outcome. Well, to me, the outcome is my goal.
Right.
And so, unless everything I'm doing is telling me that I'm doing this, but that my goal is this, and they're not getting me that way, either my actions are off, or what I think is my goal isn't really my goal.
Right. Right.
And so, there's your purpose, vision, and goals should be a constant review.
Right.
And your purpose may not change for several years or several months, but maybe the way you get to that does.
Right.
And especially right now, everything's changing. Everything's in flux. I mean, there's, you know, more and more people are using AI or learning about the different things AI can do for them. And that might affect how they approach their vision and their goals for the quarter, and how they're going, the steps they're going to take.
Hmm.
There's um, maybe civil unrest is showing up in your area, and
Hmm.
you gotta accommodate for that, whether you participate in it or agree with it. It may very well affect the things that you do. um,
Hmm.
so you got to take care of that and plan for that and work around that. And when I was younger, I always expected the worst. I
Hmm.
was rarely disappointed, but I was always prepared. And in some ways, some of that got me through as far as I've gotten.
Right. Right.
It's not that you want to plan for the worst, and it's not that you want to be prepared for everything to go wrong,
Hmm.
but you do need to know the next step. Not
Hmm.
not the next 10, not even
Yep.
the next 5, maybe not even the next 2, but what's the thing you can do today that brings you one step closer
Hmm.
to your purpose, vision, and goals for the first quarter? And
Yeah.
so when you
And I think a lot of that it comes down to stay on track is if you're journaling or not, if you're paying attention to, what can I do today to move my purpose, vision, and goals forward for tomorrow. And then at the end of the day, you don't sit down and analyze, what was the plan? What did I do? Or did I deviate from the plan? Maybe I set out to do 5 sales calls. Let's just use sales calls because we both know how they go. Without
Yeah,
sales, business doesn't run. So set out to make 5 sales calls. However, at the beginning of the day, I got tied up on one sales call and it stretched into a couple hours, whatever, but stretched into setting up a deal, getting clients onboarded, and things like that. So, what was the goal? What was the target? It was 5 sales calls. Well, maybe the target should have been one high yielding customer.
right.
And then how many calls do I need to make to do that?
And
Right?
if you get lucky and it's just one,
Yep.
great. If it takes 10,
Right. Right. And so when people set their purpose, vision, and goals, a lot of times I want to do $1 million in sales this year. Okay. Do you know how much that breaks down to a day, a week, a month? How many deals, if you're in the coaching industry or you're in any type of business, doesn't matter what it is. I used to sell food for a very large company, and in order to get to that, it was this much a day. Had to sell this much a day, this much a week, this much a month, and so the breakdown is just as important as the target. Because if you don't know what your daily target is, if you don't know what your weekly target is, then how do you know if you're actually achieving it? I think I think when I go back and think about the targets that I had when I worked for this food company, the to get to $1 million a year was 83,000 and several $100s and change a month. Well, what's that break down to a day? And it was always one of those, where am I at? Where am I at on my targets? How many more sales calls could I make? Now I worked in an area that pretty much all the customers were mine in one form or another. The only thing I had to do was to begin to penetrate accounts in order to grow the business. And so my target, it changed my whole approach to the sales conversations, because there weren't near as many cold calls. But there were, okay, what can I do to help this client improve their sales, and what can I do to generate more sales for myself? One of the things that I did is at one point in time, 60 or 70% of the menus in my area, I helped design. And by design, I mean pick the items that were selling across the board. And so when you do that, now you lock that customer in because you've set up their menu, right? So that was a key to my success there. But I also needed to focus on those daily sales, because we've all been in sales conversations where we have a tendency to quote Paul Martinelli, go off to Pluto, right? And so anything we can do to stop that and politely stop that, because it's tough sometimes, but we have to be aware every day of what that target is for the day. And if you decide to take a day off, that's fine. It changes the target for tomorrow. Decide to take 2 days off, or you do what Rita and I are planning on doing is we put in for one of the complimentary cruises the company I work for offers. Well, if we get that, then that means that week she's not going to have the production, I'm not going to have the production. So you adjust around it, right?
Right. And I think one of the things people forget is that if you have, especially if you're working in the sales realm or you own your own business and you do have these target sales and income that you have to make, if you don't make the target, you've got to make it up. So then your next target is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it can snowball on you. So you need to be focused, you need to be dedicated, because otherwise, easily, depending on what you're doing, 2 to 3 days can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And so the other thing is especially when you're working for yourself, don't put the whole thing on you in the first quarter of the year.
Right. Exactly.
Because
exactly.
many
it's
of
very
us,
important
yeah,
to spread the burden out.
spread it out and realize that, if you get yourself into a situation where you get paralyzed by all the things that you have to do and you can't figure out what needs to happen, when we're talking purpose, vision, and goals, you really do want to have kind of a plan of what that means and what it takes to get there,
right?
So that you are using your, we all have limited time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
There's only 24 hours in a day, and we don't get more, we might get less. So we've got to work towards giving ourselves the best opportunity to use our time wisely. And so I know, as I'm doing my purpose, vision, and goals for the first quarter, that some of the things that I originally wanted to do, I have to recalibrate, because I have limited resources and the means of time, etc. And right now I'm me. My company is me, myself, and I.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny how we get in each other's way all the time.
Oh, that's the truth. That's the truth.
So
go ahead.
one of the things, that Sam and I can do is we can help you with your purpose, vision, and goals so that what you're doing is in alignment with what you want to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. I've put our email address, balancingact2024 at gmail.com. If you want to drop us a line and let us know what your purpose, vision, and goals are for the first quarter or for the year. If you need help, just drop us a note that says we could use some help, or leave a comment on the video. We would appreciate. This is Balancing Act, and we're going to a couple other platforms. Linda's platform, Loving Life's Journey, and my platform, Live and at Peace Coaching. And so we can help you in a number of ways that way. But in order for this to get a little bit further, we would ask you if you would subscribe, refer the link. If it's bringing value to you, share it.
Right.
So make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button and give us a shout. We can help you in a lot of different ways when it comes to your purpose, vision, and goals. Linda and I have been doing this for years, and when you get two different perspectives on it, a lot of good comes out of it. Trust me.
And I think that's one of the big things is so many of us feel either that we have to do it ourselves or that we're in a position that that's just it.
Yeah.
Or we want to do it ourselves because we want to prove to ourselves we can. But nobody gets anywhere by themselves.
No.
So
Nope, not at all.
reach out, allow us to be thinking partners, allow us to be a community. Because I know anything that I've done that's been successful, I've had people beside me, people behind me, people in front of me. I've had people around me. And even if you think you don't have that, you do. We
Right.
can help you figure that out. So
we,
for go
we
ahead.
both have worksheets. We have things that we can do to help you get there. And if you are a person who journals and you've kept a journal of what you did, what you didn't do, what your target was for the day, did you make it, did you not, we can definitely help by analyzing that information for you.
Right. And there are, and that's one of the things, that I fall down on a lot myself is, I start the year off strong with this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to track this, this, and this. And it only takes 1 or 2 days to get off track. And then the old habits come back. And so when we're working with purpose, vision, and goals, to be honest, I mean, how would you explain the difference between the three, Sam? Because they are three different things that work together.
They are. The easiest one to explain is goals. Goals are targets. Goals are, this is what I want to accomplish. These are the tangible, measurable targets. And you have a plan to get there, very simply stated. Purpose goes to, why are you doing this? Right? Why are you a coach? Why? What is the driving force? So, for example, for the longest time, my wife and I, our purpose for everything we did, we had family in Ukraine. Our purpose was focused on getting them here, to be quite frank. And then when the war broke out, it was very intense. And it was something that we looked at every day. We prayed about it. We stayed on track. But everything we did was with that in mind. Then vision. So everybody thinks about vision a little differently. To me, it's, I'm searching for the word. It's not coming to me right now.
Vision is kind of the big picture that you see.
Yes.
And many times in that big picture, you will also see the branches, the steps, the items to get you there.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That that's how I think of vision. And when we're talking about purpose, I think purpose needs to be very hard or very, I mean, it has to be something that's pretty much all consuming.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's a necessity or it's something that has to get done, but that's not necessarily your purpose.
Right. Right.
Does your purpose should consume the majority of your thoughts,
Hmm.
be the driver for your decisions,
Hmm.
which I think a lot of people have a hard time with because they let other things get in the way. Um, it it needs to be, and it should be, that that light that you're following,
Right.
and that you're willing to go through a lot of work, a lot of pain, a lot of setback to get it.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, purpose is something that you can just get, and anything worth having, you're going to have to fight for.
Yes.
So you have to be willing to understand that if your purpose isn't something that you're willing to go through the work, the pain, the setbacks, whatever, to get it, then that's probably not really your purpose.
Hmm. Right. Right. So I had a friend who did this kind of a worksheet when it comes to vision. Um, and vision and purpose are intertwined, but he, for vision, he asks three questions of his clients. What do I want to what do I want to be in my best version of life? What do I want to do in my best version of life? What do I want to have in my best version of life? Now, um, I really like this guy, but a lot of times, a lot of it was material things.
Yeah.
And so, um, but that's part of your vision. You have to be able to see those things. It's, sorry, it's difficult sometimes to separate the two, but you have to. Now, um, a lot of people take um, a mission statement, for example. Is that your vision or is that your purpose? Do we have mission statements? I have a mission statement for my coaching business. We're developing my son is he remodels kitchens and bathrooms and stuff like that. And I told him, I says, what's your vision for this company? Why are you doing this? And it can't be just to make money.
Right.
There has to be an overriding purpose
Like, what do
in
you
our
want?
lives.
What do you want the money for? What's the
Mhm.
money going to do?
Yeah. And so there's a lot of things that play into this. We would really, to be able to have one-on-one conversations with you all out there is the best way to really lay out what your purpose, vision, and goals are. And the other thing I would strongly recommend is if you want to talk to us, reach out to us at balancingact2024@gmail.com, and we'll get right back to you. Or go into either Linda's Facebook and YouTube, or my YouTube, this is where this is playing, and drop us a comment, question, and we'll get back to you. But seriously, to move forward, you have to have targets. You have to know why you're doing it. You have to know how you're going to get it done. And the how is not nearly as important as you think it is. Because,
It's the how is going to be flexible.
yes,
The how is going to change,
it's going to,
guaranteed.
but you also have to have accountability. So, journaling is one way, but that doesn't bring in anybody else.
Right.
That doesn't bring an outside party or a coach or mentor or trainer who's looking at the entire big picture and can look at it and say, you know, one very very quickly. I had a friend of mine he looked at my daily to-do list, my daily. This is what I need to accomplish today, and he watched it. He's in an accountability group that I run, and he called me after about a week, and he says, "So, how many of those things you get done?" And if you um, know the habits of highly effective people, you circle everything as an ABC. If you don't get it done, you draw an arrow. It goes to the next day and stuff like that. Well, I had a whole bunch of stuff that got pushed to Friday. Well, that don't work, right? And he said, yeah. He said, because you're not focused on what's the main thing. You have a whole bunch of chores. You have a checklist that you're going to get done. You go through, you get 10 items off your checklist. You think you had a great day. But the one item that you didn't get checked off was make 5 sales calls. But I got the rest of it done. Yeah, but the 5 sales calls was what was going to drive the business.
You
The
know,
rest of it was all.
right, and there's a difference between being busy and being productive.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
a lot of us go very heavy on the busy,
Mm-hmm.
and we miss the productive.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people.
Me too.
And so with that accountability group, I know that when I meet with him on Tuesdays, he's going to ask. I'm going to ask him the same questions.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because he fell into the same trap that I was in. And so this last Tuesday, when I talked to him, it's like, sounds like a really big to-do list. Yeah, I got all this stuff. I said, hey, back up. What did we talk about a year and a half ago? And I had to remind him of the conversation that he had to have with me. And so it was kind of funny, just, because we slip back into that.
We do.
Let's get my to-do list taken care of.
And, I've tried the ABCD thing. I've tried the, prioritizing 1, 2, 3, getting the, I've tried doing the easiest thing first, so it's out of the way. I've tried doing the hardest thing first, so it's out of the way. And really what it needs to be is, what is the most important driver?
What's the driver? Yeah. What's going to get me towards that goal for today?
Yeah. So,
and that's probably a sales call of some sort if you're in business.
It's some kind of a sales interaction. It's some kind of, whether it's an in-person meeting or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
And just so you know, social media is not a sales strategy.
No.
It's an addition. It's an extra, but you're not going to be able to do. There's very few businesses that you can conduct solely through social media.
Yeah, exactly. And with social media, a lot of it is a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
I saw something today. A gentleman had his teaching, and he's got it down at $5. I'm like, okay, if it's just PDFs and you can send a PDF, that's fine. But this was supposed to have a coaching session with it. So you're going to have AI do the coaching session, for $5. If he gets 100 people, oh yeah, he's got, all that money. But where's he going to get the time?
Right. And you can't.
No. Not and do them justice.
No. And that's the other thing. And, well, that's a subject for another time, but we need to make sure that we value our worth. Because if we don't, nobody else will.
Exactly. So, Linda, you have a couple things going on right now. You've got your course that started, correct?
Yeah, it started on Monday, round 2 of the support equation. And, if you scan the QR code, that'll get you to the registration page. It's Monday nights from 7 p.m. Eastern time. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. I've got that going. And what about you? What are you working on?
Well, I'll be rolling out a combination program here. We had talked about this a little bit. I'm putting the finishing touches on it. I am using I'm not real good at um, using what's it called, slide presentations and that kind of stuff, like Pro Presenter or whatever the Microsoft one. So I have a script that I put into an AI program to generate the slide presentation. But what I'm going to talk about is the benefit of using DISC in your relationships with your significant other, spouse, whatever your accountability partner is, in planning your budget and achieving financial freedom in 2026. So a lot of people look at me and say, well, how can I do that in a year? Well, it may not take a year. It may be quicker. It may take longer, but we'll put you on the right track.
Right.
But here's the thing I find, and Linda pointed this out to me a while back, and that's that a lot of times we don't really talk to our significant other, our spouses, in the proper manner. And I'll use my own situation with my wife. And my wife is a high C. She wants the facts. She wants it drawn out, black and white. She wants the information. And I'm a high I. And that just causes some trouble. Trust me. But now that we're both focused on that, and we're working through a couple different programs, through the God Talks program with Ed Rush and some other things, our communication is improving. And so I wouldn't say we had bad communication. It just wasn't as effective and sometimes as concise as it needed to be. Because we can tell stories, you know. And
Yeah.
so this is the plan that I have. I should be possibly by the time we meet again, I'll have it ready to roll out.
Awesome.
Yep. So folks, this has been Linda Wilson, Sam McEwen with Balancing Act and Loving Life's Journey. Please hit the subscribe button, the like. Please share this video if it brought value to you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us, balancingact2024@gmail.com, with any questions, issues, or anything that we can help you with on your purpose, vision, and goals for the first quarter of 2026.
Then we're here for you.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Y'all
Thanks,
live intentionally, be very blessed today.
You too, and we'll see y'all next week.